Welcome, everyone. This is the DELISA webinar for October 26, 2023. We're going to hear from a recent alum, Sherelle Walker, who is the Outreach and Instruction Librarian at Borough of Manhattan Community College in New York City. Welcome, Sherelle. We're going to hear from you about your experience with the Association of College and Research Libraries, or ACRL, and let's get cracking. So, in your role as the Outreach and Instruction Librarian at BMCC, when did you know you wanted to be an academic librarian?
I knew I wanted to be an academic librarian very shortly after I graduated from the program. I was in a public library and I was doing a menagerie of things, trying to get my feel of what was really my thing, what I wanted to do, what I felt comfortable with. And I realized that this was just not my place. I missed my college library. I missed the university experience. So I realized that that's really where I wanted to be. So I started to try to gear myself towards that.
Right, you were a graduate assistant in the university library
Yes, I was.
while you were in the program. I remember it well. We started, I think you started DLIS around the same time I started at St. John's in the university library. So we were
Yep.
of a piece. Uh, what, if anything, what influence did your Vincentian education have on that decision? Like you said that it was mostly nostalgia that you wanted to get back
Mhm.
into an academic library based on your experience there as a student and graduate assistant. But what part of your, if any, if there's any influence, like was it the Vincentian side that you wanted to help the underserved, not to put words into your mouth, or was there some other factor that said BMCC, like a community college, is the way to go?
There was the sense of service. St. John's has always been very dedicated to service. And during my career, I had been in numerous places where I got to help different people. But I found that at BMCC, I got to help students who were coming from largely very underprivileged backgrounds. They were coming from places of difficulty, and they really needed the extra step and the extra help that other college students didn't. So I really felt called to the active service of helping them. And it truly felt fulfilling every time a student said, "Thank you, I never knew how to do this." Even when an older student, a, a 45-year-old woman who decided to come back to college after spending a career doing XYZ said, "I never knew how to do this. Thank you." It's truly so fulfilling.
Yeah, that's a big part of why I am where I am now. My husband left a public library in a very affluent community and is now an outreach librarian like you at an academic library in a state college in Buffalo. So where he made the same choice. He said, I can't continue to serve the overrepresented, the overserved. I have to serve the underserved. And working in academia is really fulfilling. We've been here for a year and a half, and he's had a really good experience. He's actually pursuing a second master's in adult education.
Nice.
Yeah, so he'll be focusing on that. He's certified as a English language learning
Nice. Oh, that's
instructor. Yeah,
very helpful. That's going to be
yeah,
very helpful.
yeah. He's doing well. So, when did you join ACRL, and when did you get involved in ACRL? I thought you might have done that as a student because you were the graduate assistant for someone who's a muckety muck in ACRL.
So it wasn't actually as I was a student, though there had been discussions of it. It was actually right after I was a student, and it was very accidental. So as you've mentioned, that muckety muck said to me, oh, you should get involved in this. It'd be a great way for you to network and build connections and get some real good leadership experience. So I said, you know what? Sure, why not? I've got the extra time. I want to get to know people. And this is, again, I had just graduated and I was still trying to figure out where I wanted to go. I hadn't really gained a comfort level in the industry yet. I wouldn't say I was so strong footed in my career. I was doing like part timing, I was also volunteering. So I wanted to try to branch out and do more and build more connections. So, and yeah, that muckety muck dragged me in.
Currently Dean of Libraries, right? Or very recently Dean of Libraries at St. John's University.
I completely forgot about that. I love you, Caroline. I love you.
We're talking about Caroline Fuchs, professor, associate professor, and dean of libraries at St. John's University, who we both work very closely with, and she has a great sense of humor, so that's how we can make fun of her on a webinar that she'll never see. So,
Ah,
you know, um, with ACRL, what opportunities? You said networking was a key element. What opportunities for networking and for building? Networking is something that people don't necessarily want to engage in. We know that it's part of our practice because we're in the field, and so we see going to conferences, attending symposia, even just attending talks or webinars. Um, you see who is active and you start to build a phone book, a directory of people. I almost said Rolodex, but no one in the audience would know what a Rolodex is. But you start to build a list of names of people in your area who are active and participating in this kind of professional development activity. What was your experience? What opportunities for professional development does ACRL offer, like on a annual basis?
there was there was and continues to be so much in regards to networking and professional development that I continue to get out of ACRL New York. So from the very beginning, when I started working there were people in ACRL New York who had been there for years and years and years. And there are people who had been there for, less amount of time, the newer librarians who had maybe been there for about 5 or so years. They all were willing to give me advice on the field. They all were willing to give me suggestions on where we're hiring, when I should be on the lookout for applications, and according to, the academic calendar, when places might be opening up positions. When I eventually saw the posting for BMCC, I reached out to my ACRL New York colleagues for my recommendations to that position. It was really with their help that I got into that position, and I am very grateful for that. Networking is such a huge factor in this industry. Getting your name out there into the great world of librarianship actually does go a long way. The very first job I got out of library school was actually through networking. I went to a DLIS event, and this was actually when it wasn't Dr. Vorback, the one who was before Dr. Vorback. What was his
Dr.
name?
Olson.
Yes, it was when Dr. Olson was running the program. He introduced me to the chief librarian at Baruch, and he happened to ask me, "Oh, Sherelle, have you found a full-time position yet?" And I said, "Oh, no, I'm still looking about." And he asked me to just talk about my skills in front of the chief librarian of Baruch. Chief librarian of Baruch was impressed, gave me a part-time job. And I held that for a year or so. It just helped me to build up my resume, helped me get some, you know, money into my savings, and helped me transition into the next step. Networking is so important.
It's
And
crazy because people don't realize that we are one of about 70 ALA accredited LIS programs in the continental United States, in North America. ALA does Canada also, and the US. Um, each of those programs is pushing out maybe 100 students are graduating with an LIS degree uh,
mhm,
a year for each of those 60. So let's say like there's 6,000 new librarians every spring, which is when they emerge from the ground. Um, it's a very small field,
yeah,
right? There's 300 million Americans, and every year there's 6,000 new librarians graduating from an ALA accredited program. So we all know each other, right? And this is why DLIS sponsors students to go to conferences. If you get something accepted at a conference, or if we're going to be at conference, we'll invite students to volunteer to come and join us at the conference to attend it. I had once, and if you go to a conference, if you go to a professional event, have a business card. Go to
oh yes,
vistaprint.com and
oh
get the
yes,
250 business cards for $10 or whatever. Just have your name and your email address, and MSLIS candidate is your job
yes,
title, right?
yes.
um
I
if
did
you go
that.
to
I did
right,
that.
if you go to conference, take 50 copies of your resume and just have it on hand. I was at a conference once. We had a student who was on vacation with her family, and she was in North Carolina, I think. So she went to Charlotte, let's say.
Mhm.
And while she was there, she saw that the library was hiring, and she just submitted her, like, she went to the library and said, I'm a library school student and I want to, just try my hand at this job. They said, great, we'll give you the interview experience, whatever. We're not
Mhm.
going to take it seriously. She met with the library director, and they had a fun time because there was no pressure. Like, she just walked in off the street, said, I'm on vacation and you're hiring, so let me just try out for this job. um she was at Months later, we were at ALA in Chicago, and she was online at the Starbucks in the convention center at the
Mhm.
Chicago, and someone said, "Girl," and she turned around, and it was the director of that library in North Carolina that she had interviewed with, who said, "Are you are you interested in the job? We didn't find anybody, but you gave us the best interview." So she came running. I had a booth. DLS had a booth at ALA, and she came running over to the booth and she said, "Can you believe that this just happened?" And I said, "This is what conference attendance is like. This is
Yes.
why there's job interviews that happen at conferences. There's When we look for faculty, we go to ALIS, the Association of LIS Educators,
Mhm.
and we'll interview anybody that's there, to fill a position. So conferencing, these things are so important because not only do you get your name out there, but you get your face out there, and people will come
Yes.
up to you and they'll offer you a job. And a lot of times in
Yes.
librarianship, um, a job has to be posted because that's a requirement of the state that funds the library,
Mhm.
or what have you. The municipality requires that these public dollar jobs be posted. However, we
However,
know that on the
they
back
already
end,
have an idea of
there's
who the market
somebody in
is.
mind.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so that's why I tell people, like, if it's a job where you have to apply to a database, it's not for you. We want jobs where we're applying to an email address, and the email address may
Mm.
be careers at such and such publiclibrary.org, or
Mhm.
employment at such and such library. But we want those because those are true. Those are not the pro forma job postings that are required by the state. The pro forma job postings are go to this database and enter all of your information and then upload your resume. Like
Yeah.
that's no, not those are not the kinds of jobs that we want. We want jobs that are specifically there's someone in HR or there's a library director who is reviewing these resumes, reviewing our cover letters and seeing it firsthand.
Yes.
And that's something that we have to keep in mind that and networking is part of that. Networking
Yes. An
is
incredible part of
building
that.
it's not building brand recognition, but it's just demonstrating that you're aware of your brand. You're aware that you are a person. You're a service that you want to contract with the library. Think of yourself as a vendor for a library when you're looking for a job.
It's also giving you experience in talking about yourself, really being able to enunciate what your skills are, showing yourself off. Because if you can't interview well, if you can't really sit in front of a person and say why you are an excellent librarian, no one's going to remember you. And networking helps you do that.
Absolutely, yeah. Have an elevator pitch. Have that 2 or 3 minute description of what
Yes,
you do, of what you want to
yes,
do, of what you're able to do. Um,
yes.
these things, and also, sometimes you might want to say, I don't really have a lot of experience with the big commercial ILS. So maybe this will be a great opportunity for me to learn. I'm a quick study.
Exactly. Say what you want to learn.
Yeah.
Say what you want to learn. Say what you're interested in, because that helps just as much.
So, what are some of the challenges that you've observed in your experience as an academic librarian? Like, was there something that let's spill the tea on DLIS. What did we not prepare you for?
Did not prepare me to deal with trauma in students.
Mm,
And that is something that, especially given the last couple of years, I work in and I work in an institution that is filled with predominantly minority students. And over the last couple of years, there's been a lot of uproar. There's been a lot of difficulties. There have been a lot of struggles, and it has produced trauma in the students. Librarians are not counselors. We are not educated as social services. And yet, oftentimes, we are able to build a connection with a student that a faculty member cannot because we're in a different position. We are offering our hand at helping the student find whatever they need. And sometimes a student will take that and really just need someone to talk to. It is sometimes hard to find the balance between wanting to serve the student, wanting to help, and knowing what you can and cannot do. And that's just something library school does not prepare you for.
right, and that's yeah. This is because we've been talking about in DLIS recently. We've been talking about kind of soft skills. And we put out an employer survey every year, and we asked the employers of recent alumni to give us feedback on how that student turned alumni turned employee
Hmm.
uh, is fitting in and adjusting to their professional praxis. And we've got a lot of feedback that says, "Oh, soft skills," and there's some faculty that have a very rigid definition of soft skills, and I come at it with a perspective similar to yours. Like, oh no, soft skills in librarianship means dealing with the unexpected and dealing with the surprise element of other human beings and their activity and their life and their
Yes.
reality. And we can't really prepare people for this without uh, essentially role playing. We have to build experiential knowledge.
Yeah.
Um, we can all talk about the article on giving Narcan to libraries.
Yeah.
We won't know what that means until we have to administer Narcan in a library.
Exactly. Exactly.
you know
Exactly.
so that's where it's like I just try to remind the faculty, like, we're
Yes.
dealing with practitioners,
Exactly.
and
There's theory and then there's practice.
then there's practice, and that's,
Very
we have to
different.
do a better job. And that's, this discussion of soft skills is kind of like a camouflage over that division, that we have to get these kids out of the classroom and into libraries where, to be frank, shit gets real, right? Like it
Yes.
gets real,
Yes.
real fast.
Yes. And it doesn't
And
matter if it's academic, public, a legal library. It, things will get real. You
yeah,
will see some things.
yeah, and that's, irate patrons. How do we de-escalate conflict situations?
Yes.
Trauma, what happens if crime is committed in the library, or,
Yes.
if someone is abducted, a child is abducted from the library, other abandonment. I've had kids abandoned at libraries that I've worked
Yes.
at. Like, it's, and trauma librarianship or trauma in librarianship is something that we worked a couple of years. We worked with the Urban Libraries Unite
Mm.
uh, to
Familiar. They're
they did
wonderful.
a study on trauma in the library, and it was mostly about, like, staff, like how librarians and library staff are impacted by trauma uh, in their day-to-day work. Like having a gun pulled on you because you want to charge somebody 40 cents in late fees, that kind of stuff. Um, and that study was published in 2019. So we didn't even go through, like, we have to revise it probably soon. I mean, that was before COVID. It was before all of the Black Lives Matter and the racial injustice stuff that happened in 2020. 2020 was a very volatile year for us as a
Yes.
country, as a planet, essentially. And this, now the stuff that's coming out of this, we're dealing now with college
Yes.
students that didn't go to prom and didn't have a graduation and all of that stuff. And it's like, now they're in college, and now we got to get them ready for the workplace. And the shape of the workplace has changed completely too. i'm
Changed
working
completely.
i'm working remotely 100%.
I'm in my home right now. I'm in my living room.
Yeah,
I'm not on my campus right now.
yeah. And that's something that has to be taken into consideration in the services that we provide, is what are the needs, what's the immediate need of the student who's standing across the desk from us, and how does it affect their broader experience. And that's
Yes.
something that especially outreach librarians, I think, are aware of, because you're building, part of what you're doing is connecting the students to the library, letting them know what services. There's this talk coming up, it's in the digest, I'll send you a link. um, are you tired of hearing, I didn't know the library could do that? So there's a talk that's coming out of the Western New York Library Resource Council in early November. That's about that. That's the subject. That's the title of the talk. So ACRL is important for networking. For
Yes.
people who don't or are not familiar, the Association of College and Research Libraries, ACRL, that we've been talking about, is a division of the American Library Association, and it
Mm-hmm.
has different chapters. And then, Sherelle, you're a member of ACRL New York, which
Yep.
is it statewide or is it just metropolitan?
So this one is just metropolitan. So we just cover what they call the greater New York area, which includes the five boroughs, Long Island, and Westchester.
Right.
There's also an Eastern New York chapter, which includes Buffalo, where you're at, and all that upstate New York, all up
Yeah,
there.
all the best. Yeah, there used to be a
That's where I'm
Western New
at.
York and Southern Ontario chapter. which we found out when we moved here, but it's defunct. It's no longer in existence, and I have tasked my husband with resurrecting it.
Which is very possible. Which
Yeah,
is very possible.
because like I said, there's two state universities in Buffalo. There's the Erie County Community College, also in Buffalo, and all of Toronto is an hour and a half away. So all of their colleges up in Toronto as well. Um, and the Buffalo also has a library school. One of the SUNYs here has a library school. So there is, it's good fodder for reopening a chapter, but it just has to be built on a sustainable model. What happens with a
So
lot of
that's
associations, and we know this from our experience in DLAS, having our student chapters of professional associations, is that if someone leaves, they take the keys with them, right?
and
And so the clubhouse is locked and it just goes away.
and that's part of the issue that we are right now trying to solve with ACRL in New York. So right now we are undergoing what we are calling our new vision. So I am, along with others, involved in our committee for a new vision of ACRL New York, where we are trying to make sure we are bringing in that younger generation of librarianship so that the organization can continue to thrive, can continue to help the new librarians that are coming into the profession, and to make sure we continue to pass down these keys to the new people that are coming in. We are creating a handbook that is designed to be passed down and given and used and updated as new people can come in. We're designing all sorts of helpful materials for new people who are coming in. We are trying to figure out better and new and improved affinity groups, discussion groups, and quite frankly, if there were some DLIS students who would want to come in and have an idea for a discussion group and they wanted to work with somebody on ACRO New York, we would love to hear from you.
All right, and that's a great way to segue. The contact information is just email dlas@stjohns.edu. Anybody watching this who's interested in possibly joining ACRL or making some suggestions, casual suggestions. We've talked about this whole meeting. It's the importance of networking. It doesn't have to be for a purpose. Sometimes just being in the room
Yes,
and being at the table, being part of the conversation, or just being party to the conversation, uh, is enough. Especially when in academia, we know historically the prevalent perspective is white and male. Just being a non-white, non-male person in the space is enough to disrupt that mode and point people in the right direction. All perspectives are valid, and academia
yes,
is waking up to that now. It's been a rough couple of years in academia with all of the diversity, equity, and inclusion work that's coming down. Some places are excelling and leading the field, and some places are slightly behind the curve uh, when it comes to equity and inclusion and diversity, and that's just because there aren't enough diverse voices in the room. There aren't enough diverse perspectives as part of the discussion. And academia is going to do that. Academics going to academic, right? Like they'll want to put together a paper on a topic like equity and inclusion instead of just saying, remove the gendered pronouns. Like that's something that was I was part of the equity and inclusion task force of St. John's College of Liberal Arts and Sciences for the last 2 years, and the first thing I did was like get that he she language, get those words out of these documents.
mm, that's a very good point.
right? Like, let's refer to the student as a student, or as they, because it's a collective noun for student. Um, and also, I made the documents ADA compliant
Very
by,
good.
changing the
Very good.
font
Very good.
size and the font style itself, and make the machine readable. So there's, but if I wasn't in that room, if I wasn't in those places to have that to be part of that conversation, none of those changes would have been made.
Exactly. The idea would not have been heard.
Right. So we have to, that's the importance of networking. It gives us the confidence and the skill set to then, in our professional practice, engage with management, engage with authority, and make sure that we are volunteering for these committees and actually doing the work.
Yes,
And I'm glad
absolutely.
that ACRL gave you the opportunity and continues to give you the opportunity to speak up and represent yourself in that
Quite
setting.
honestly, quite honestly, me too. Quite honestly, me too. I'm very grateful for the opportunities that ACRL New York has given me, and I'm grateful for the friends and the mentorship that I have gotten out of it. It has created such a terrific impact on my career, and I hope all of you can find the same as well.
Well, thank you, Sherelle, for meeting with us today.
Thank you for
Um,
having me.
I will let you know once, if any students reach out, any viewers of this recording reach out to us and want to engage with ACRL, I'll send you the information. You can put them in touch with the right person.
No problem. You can always reach out to me. I'm a very friendly person, as Michael knows.
Yes, very friendly indeed. Thank you, Sherelle, for joining us, and
Thank you.
good luck with everything. And we'll see you again possibly soon.
Alrighty.